What's up, good people? Welcome back to the channel today for another review. As Terrell and I are getting ready to review the first two episodes of Grogu and Friends returning back to Disney Plus. No, folks, The Mandalorian season 3 returning back to Disney Plus tonight. The first episode is dropping right now, March 1st, but we got to check out the first two. So, yes, episode 2 will be dropping next Wednesday, and new episodes follow on each Wednesday on Disney Plus. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the first two episodes. Obviously, no spoilers here. The first episode is Apostate, which is just about 35 minutes long, and then episode 2 is The Minds of Mandalore, which is about 42 minutes long. So if you have not been keeping up with The Mandalorian, which I don't know how, because it's literally the best show in all of Star Wars, and I mean animation and all of that. This is their best show. This is their flagship show. I think when you think about Disney Plus, you think about The Mandalorian. When I think you think about why you're spending those dollars on that subscription, you're thinking about The Mandalorian here. But this one does not pick up after season 2, because in fact, it picks up after the Book of Boba Fett. So it also, because the show was so good, and obviously Boba Fett is such a popular character that we never had a lot of backstory to. There was a lot of reason to check that out, but come on now, it's all about Mando. It's all about Grogu, and now we're fully back into the story of the Mandalorian. So quickly, Terrell, as I gave us our little introduction here, overall from the first two episodes, man, just how you feeling, what you thinking, what's your excitement level? Talk to me.
I'm happy to be back, man. Like you said, Mandalorian is the flagship show. It's the reason to have Disney Plus. And we can see, the Mandalorian is taking us in a direction with Star Wars that is, I want to say, more of a adult level. Like you can see like where Star Wars is going on Disney Plus, where the movies are like kid to like young, a young adult,
yeah, family friendly.
Mm-hmm. This is, I would say, the stories. I mean, it's still fiction, but the stories are a little bit more
mature.
And you can see that with the action, the language, stuff like that. When you take away the Jedi and stuff like that, we get boots to the ground and get a little bit more of what what the Star Wars world is all about. And the Mandalorian is the perfect mix of all of it, from just regular people to what the Mandalorians are doing, and a little bit of Jedi and stuff like that. And of course, Dar here, he's like he's a good mix of everything that's in this world. But this, like I said, this is a really good reason to have Disney Plus, man. Every episode is amazing top to bottom, and this is a really good start in season 3 to jump us off. I can't wait to see more.
As a person who don't like Westerns, I mean, this is my favorite Western, the only Western I would ever watch, but it also does have that very good, and although, I agree, this is very mature in terms of all of the Star Wars content, I would say, of the likes of something like Rogue One, but like the Star Wars saga and all of the animated stuff, even the video games, some of the video games, I'll say, it's very family friendly. But with this, though, I will say that it still does have a lot of heart, because that father-son relationship between Dar and Grogu is always must watch. As we see this season, Grogu is still up to his same old shenanigans, causing trouble, very much a kid, but he is maturing in other ways, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, the trailers too have really provided a lot of hype. I had seen the trailer pretty early at D23. Then the secondary trailer that came out was just the icing of the cake. That just really, the hype was just through the roof for me here. But I'm going to say this, for the first two episodes, especially with the first episode, it's a lot of instant action and fun.
Oh yeah.
And I think the moment for me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree, when you hear the Mandalorian theme and how it's interjected into the first episode, it just gave me chills. And I think obviously this is one of the best themes in all of Star Wars. But like when you hear the Mandalorian theme and how it's interjected into our first appearance of our favorites, it's just so dope. And I think that like everything that the Mandalorian has done really good in the previous seasons in terms of the visuals, it feels like big box office production on Disney Plus. These larger than life monsters and creatures that we get, And these stories they tell with all the special effects, they do all of that. You're getting all of that back. It did not take a step back on that note at all. But I think with this one too, we're just getting a lot of rich lore. Especially when you talk about no other than Mandalore. So like, I think this story does a really good job in continuing to bring the fans along for the folks who've been watching it for the first 2 seasons and Boba Fett, but also now starting to dive into the folks who really, really know the lore. So there is, I'll say, very comic book and lore heavy Easter eggs for folks. So the folks who are looking for those things are in here. And it's just a lot of fun. But ultimately, what's happening in terms of the theme, the plot in this season is, well, we know Dar removed his mask, and so thus he's kind of been, given the axe in terms of being a Mandalorian. The armorer made sure he knew that, like, hey, you're no longer Mandalorian. So he's looking for a way to redeem himself.
And again,
yeah, he has to he has to go on an adventure. He has to fix things, and this is the way. As that is said numerous times throughout the episode, so it wasn't a corny pun. But with this, he goes and sees some old friends. They catch up on some old times. We go see some revisit some place that we've already been. But also too, we do get to learn about where a lot of characters have been since the last time we've seen them. And I will say, since the last time we seen them last season. So we're talking about the folks that did not appear in Boba Fett. In terms of like where they at, and like think about the folks that kind of, in terms of were important and pivotal characters in the first 2 seasons. They're either name dropped or we actually see them. And then, obviously as we keep up with Dar, it's all a matter of like, well, what's next? Obviously, yes, he needs to redeem himself. He's completed his quest, but since he had removed his mask, he is now considered, title of this episode, an apostate. So, he has to kind of figure out what he's going to do. And I'll talk about a little bit where that goes. But much like any other time, when everything seems well, trouble's always looming. And yes, that does mean at this point now, he has to get into some action, which is typical. But much like that second episode says, the Minds of Mandalore, we all know we're going to Mandalore here. He does need to go to Mandalore, but he will need some help. And when he solicits the help, I say that this is the lore heavy part. We learn so much about the rich history of Mandalore, and understanding the culture, what it was, the different rulers, and sort of the redemption story. How do you become back gang, shall I say, at this point? So a lot of that. Terrell, just again to not give anything away, what do you think about how they're introducing this plot in these first 2 episodes, and obviously by the connection of the lore and whatnot? Like, how do you feel like they're doing a good job in like really pushing the story forward, as this is chapter 17 and 18 here?
Yeah, I forgot we're doing the chapter thing, and this as we go through it, and like I know they all have specific episode titles too. But like you said, man, we jump back in and they explain where characters are and where they are not, for those who wanted to know. And like you said, using it's kind of sad, using the Book of Boba Fett as the jump off point. You might as well just say that was season 3 right there, man.
2.5,
right? But like I said, we get back in and they don't waste no time, like hitting you with the action. Kind of a misdirection right there at the beginning of the first episode, because I thought we were somewhere else. I'm not gonna spoil that, but like I said, man, they jump right back in, and as I watch this, I continuously say to myself, TV and streaming is the future of Star Wars. I would be perfectly okay if we don't go back to the movies. That's just me personally, because I feel like we can get more done. We get more explored. We get with the movies, you get 2 hours to, say what you want to say, sometimes 3, say what you want to say. But those movies are mainly focused on the Jedi and, stuff like that, where these are spread, so much more around. And you like you said, with Andor and, this and Book of Boba Fett, we get a little bit more closer to the characters than we do in the movies. Because like I said, those go by so quick. But man, I didn't think they had any more story after season 2, and I was wrong. I was wrong. I couldn't see where else they could take it. I mean, it felt like a one and done to me. at first, but I was like, okay, it's still more. We still got this big gap of the story in between story that they can touch.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm happy to say I was wrong. And like I said, every time I watch something on Star Wars, every time I watch something on Disney Plus, all I can see is, man, they really know how to market toys.
Yeah.
Every time they bring in a new character, every time they bring in a new ship, all I can see is Legos, action figures, and Disney World is blowing up. So
yeah. Oh, the mouse has to do their thing,
right.
and there's no better token child than Grogu here.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I agree. I mean, like, I know a lot about the lore in terms of the Mandalorian and the Mandalorian culture, but I think that, like, yeah, there's still so much more, and I'm going to talk about just a little bit more in a minute. But yeah, talking about Grogu, who's everyone's favorite. Again, Grogu continues to do childish things, and the world is so big to Grogu. So his big eyes is kind of looking around as he goes on this venture, and the adventure goes all over the place, which I'll talk about that in a second. But I will name drop one character and that we do get reintroduced to, and it's Bo-Katan, who I will say we just see a new side of her, and that's all I'm gonna leave it at. Just a really new side of her, and I really can't wait to see where it goes. And I got to talk to the actor of Bo-Katan at D23, and she pretty much assured me, like, hey, listen, this season is going down. I've been hyped since, and I see exactly why, because already in 2 episodes it looks like it's going to get very interesting. And knowing what you know about her by the history of the show, but knowing if you know about her from the history of any other bit of lore or mediums, you should have your suspicion antennas up very high right now. So we will see. Grogu, I was going to name drop another person, but Grogu does get to visit another previous friend of his, and they have their very cute moments together. I'll just say that. But Grogu's just so ridiculous in this, and I talked about Grogu developing, but like, let it be known that Grogu is still very much a child. But remember, right, Grogu made a very important decision at the conclusion of last season, which the finale of Mandalorian 2, the scene with Luke, is the best scene I've ever seen in television history. It literally still gives me chill. Just how they did that, and all the ramifications in terms of the special effects and the CGI and all that other stuff. Like, it's fantastic. It's top tier everything. But understanding, even outside of that, I just want to quickly say that, like, remember, Grogu made a decision. Instead of going to be a Jedi, he decided to follow his dad and become a Mandalorian. So he's learning about the culture of the Mandalorian. And then it's definitely like, listen, it's a teaching factor. You really do see the father-son bond happening in these moments. Every little moment he can, he's educating him about, like, listen, even though he's like almost like excommunicated right now, he's still very much like, listen, this is what the Mandalorian do. You need to learn how to do this. You need to learn how to do this. Navigation is a big thing, and you see Grogu pick these things up very quickly. So he's not just a damsel in distress anymore. He actually holds it down, and you all seen the trailer, so you know the Force is definitely strong in this one. If you did not know, and if you're wondering what does he do with the Force, again, you saw the trailer, and that's all I'm gonna leave you up with that. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, just talking about Grogu, like, definitely him kind of not necessarily forfeiting the ways of the Force, because it's more than, it's more ways to use the Force than just be a Jedi. I mean, if you're familiar, if you read anything like that, it's other ways that you see people. I mean, you see that in Rogue One, you see it in a couple different other things where you see people that have an affinity for the Force use it in different ways. And like you said, he's no longer just defenseless creature that needs to be protected at all times. He can actually do something, jump around, throw an apple at you, whatever. But now the character is obviously smarter than what we think he is, especially portrayed in the beginning, where it's just like, does he know anything? Does he understand anything? And as we see in this season and going forward, like, he's capable of so much more. But I would like to see him get a little lightsaber at some point. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm sure the toy department would too.
Right. But yeah, man, the character's awesome, man. Like I said, this father-son space cowboy, drama that we have, show that is amazing. I cannot wait to see more, and I need a dark saber ASAP.
Yeah, so as I look over at Miles right here to my left, Pedro Pascal is fantastic. There's no even really mention him, but again, Djarin is just always must watch in every scene, because we do see a flux in this character as well too. There's definitely a moral conflict, but there's also, I feel like, an ability challenge at times too. I feel like sometimes his head's not always in there, but maybe because he has the responsibility in protecting Grogu, so he puts Grogu first over him. And I think episode 2, we see that to the T, where you start to question your head, like, wait, how, what? But you understand, maybe it's for the better of Grogu. But listen, Grogu, again, ain't no damsel in distress this time. Grogu proves his keep. The last two things I'm going to say is, this is a statement I make anytime I talk about Star Wars, whether it's just in passing or whether it's any bit of content that I do. I always say that the MVP of the Skywalker saga is R2-D2. And I'm going to tell you right now that having a trusted, dependable droid is a must-have at all times. Keep that in mind, because you're going to see just why in every bit of scale why it's a must-have, and you'll see how that plays a part into this. And you mentioned the Darksaber. The Darksaber is always going to be one of my favorite weapons. It's not even a question.
It's just so cool, man.
It's so cool, and it's a lot of Darksaber action coming very quickly in this. So but yeah, last thing I'll say, like, in terms of the adventure, man, listen, we hit numerous planets. We're on surface. We're in deep space with chases. We're even underwater. And we just get a lot quickly in this. And I just can't wait to see the remaining of the season, as this season does have 8 episodes, which means it will be concluding on April 19th. Each episode weekly, Disney Plus, every Wednesday. We'll be here to cover it. I think as more and more episodes come in, I think that, like, it's just going to just get better and better and better. And this is a very impressive start to season 3. Terrell, is there anything else we need to talk about or cover, or anything you want to say? Any bit of your reaction to this, or any bit of other aspects of a review that you want to add in here?
There was some stuff in the trailer in terms of Jedi that I hope to get to see, because every time a lightsaber pops up, but obviously we know where we are in the timeline, so it kind of leads me to believe that may be a flashback. But I want to just say, like, one of the things that kind of bothers me so far about the show is the lack of transparency about where we are, because we kind of are moving really fast through, like, it's been a year, been 2 years or so since Grogu and Dar have met and everything like that. Just kind of like, okay, how far past from the beginning are we now? I mean, like, either way, I'm just trying to figure it out, just because of, like, where this falls in the timeline of Star Wars going forward, and what other characters are we going to meet, because we also know that this is spinning off another show with Ahsoka. So kind of where that falls and everything like that. So that was just, like, my only thing about it, just as far as, like, identifying where we are.
Yeah, I think I seen somewhere that somebody said at this point now, Grogu is 83 years old. And I don't know that to be true. I didn't fact check it, but I did see that pop up, and I thought that was interesting. But I will say, on the contrary of you, I actually don't care where we're at, because I feel like they're creating a mini universe within this timeline block, where we got the events of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, and then the Mandalorian. And then we know very big pivotal milestones in all of these things, as the trailer did show Jedi. So that means that we quite aren't at a point where things get, bad, but we're still at a point of where, and it's obviously a flashback here, but it's the sense of, like, what's the means of this flashback? What purpose did this flashback serve? So, like, and obviously we've seen Luke still very much a teen, so it's a matter of, like, I think it's more fun to not give us a timeline exactly, which I'm sure we can pick up on different clues and different, like I said, different very important milestones that would definitely set off indicators. And with so much content, especially on Disney Plus, whether you're watching either Bad Batch, or you watching Clone Wars or Rebels or stuff like that, you'll find things to try to connect to all of this. And I think that, like, that's the fun in it. But other than that, I'm cool with it not really giving, like, because I think once you get a timeline, then you also get, like, a finish line when you start to say, like, okay, if we're this far out, that means we only got this much story to tell, and you don't want that. I feel like
here comes the continuity check. So, like I said,
you don't want to go down retcon land, do you?
like I said, the future of Star Wars is Disney Plus, man. Like I said, it's just so much room to grow, and expand, and show so much more. Get that old Knights of the Old Republic, but it's neither here nor there. But that's
yeah. Well, folks, y'all get in the comments. Y'all let us know your thoughts, your excitement, your hype, your predictions, all of that for the Mandalorian season 3, aka Fun Time with Grogu and Friends. Let us know your thoughts about it. And as always, folks, y'all know we'll be back with more reviews and content right here at Big Old Belt Media real soon.
See.
Big old bell.